Yeah. So why an EA and why CSP? And it's not that it is a one size fits all answer. So it really depends upon your specific situation. And in order to determine whether it could be very beneficial for you, we're now going to discuss, on what items should you focus, whether to determine if CSP is an attractive option for you as a client. So the main thing is, who do you want to get supported by? Do you want that from your partner, or do you want it from Microsoft? We see, especially within the clients between with less than 2,400 users, that they are often very satisfied with the partner that is handling their Office 365 tenant. So we see in a lot of cases that they are doing all the work already. So it could be a very small step for those clients who are fully have outsourced their working space to a Microsoft partner already to perhaps switch to CSP. But then again, it really depends. We also have clients that really want that first line support from Microsoft. And in that case, you should consider staying with Microsoft, because then you will have your direct engagement. But in the end, it really should depend on your specific requirements. And in addition to that, and this is purely from the licensing and financial perspective, if you are able and ready to standardize on Microsoft products, it makes sense to take a look at the CSP option. And if you are not able to do that, it could make more sense to go for a situation where you go for multiple options. So not only the CSP, but perhaps combine it with MPSA, open, even secondhand. It could be that in the end, that is a far more attractive option for you as a client. And because there are, as Flores already described, there are some licensing restrictions to CSP. Yeah, you should be very careful for which option you should go. The benefit from an EA is that it can still be favorable in certain cases. So we see that a client who has a one size fits all license requirement, they tend to need step ups, add-ons, other price promos. In that case, if you are not having M365 for everyone, I think it's a good option to consider the EA again, because we see that there is more flexibility in the EA. There are more possibilities to put in amendments. So yeah, if you are heading for a customized agreement, the EA is the way to go, if it's still an option for you. But we will get to that later on. In the one size fits all scenario, what we see is that within the enterprise agreement, you are well, actually, most clients are entitled to use from SA pricing, and that is a programmatical discount of 15%. And if you compare that to CSP, you more or less see that EA is cheaper in that case. But again, it's always worthwhile to make a price comparison. We will get to that later on as well. But yeah, just to give you more insight on what the exact benefit is of the enterprise agreement. If you are profiling your users, you should always go for EA. That should be the biggest differentiator on that. And even though if you are not going for the CSP alternative, it could result into a benefit in your negotiation with Microsoft, because Microsoft is not always very keen on having the CSP agreement within a client, because within the enterprise agreement, Microsoft has a certain amount of stability in their financial assessment of you as a client. If you are committing for your whole enterprise for the next 3 years, they more or less know what money comes in. But if you go for a CSP where you can change every month, and you can change your your licensing position every month. There is no financial security for Microsoft internally, so you should be aware of that. So Microsoft does not, well, in most cases, they don't like to see clients to go to CSP if they are quite substantial. They don't mind it if you're like between 500 and 1,000 seats, but if you are 3,000 or more seats within your organization, they want really to have an enterprise agreement in place. But again, always make the comparison for yourself to check whether CSP or A is more beneficial for you. Until now, we've seen that most clients are still benefiting more from the EA platform than the CSP. But with the changes coming up, we anticipate that it will change, and you should be considerate of that change coming up. Moving on to the...
Yeah, we have another question from Silva. If you don't mind, I'll happily answer that one.
Sure.
The question is, a hybrid scenario for a customer. Is something possible where you have an EA and a CSP contract? Yes, in certain scenarios, that is definitely possible. And it's quite a good one as well that you can recommend to your, if you are working in this space, that we sometimes also recommend to our clients. Because in an EA, if you're buying, for instance, Microsoft 365 as your standardization product, you don't have a company-wide commitment for this. So you can buy Microsoft 365 E3 in an EA for less than your entire company. That didn't used to be the case when you were buying on-premise products like Office or Windows or the Core Cal suite, where you had to standardize for your entire organization. In a scenario where you have an EA with Microsoft 365, for instance, you can buy less than you might need. So if your organization of, you think 2,400 users, you might be able to buy 2,000 and purchase 400 as a flexible shell around it in CSP. You might get a different price level in CSP than in the EA. So you might be out with more money in the CSP in opposed to the EA, but you can do this. So if you have a highly volatile company where you have lots of people coming in, moving out, and you know that as a base layer, you have a steady 2,000 users, but you also have a layer where you don't really know if it's going to be 100 or 500, then you might buy those in CSP because you're able to scale them down month over month whenever you need less or want more. Yeah. So that's sometimes, in some cases, in some scenarios, where we advise customers to look into this.
Yeah, Floris, and in addition, it's very easy to combine both the EA program and the CSP program into the Office 365 portal. There is no difficulty in that, so both can be utilized and have the same, the same look and feel.
Yeah.
So